Hey, thank you for listening to the Vegan Ambition podcast. I'm here to let you know that you can visit us on our website at theveganambition.com or on Instagram, Facebook, or Twitter. We post new content every single day. And now, time for the podcast. Hey, I'm Ruji, and today we're joined with Sonja, and I'm Ruji. Welcome to the Vegan Ambition podcast number 20. Today's main question is, are vegetables grown with animal manure vegan?
Oh.
But before we start, I'd like to thank today's sponsors. I'd like to thank Farmhouse Garden Animal Home, Apricots, and of course, Plasma Dolphin, the magazine.
Woot woot.
This podcast is a tool to help vegans, vegetarians, and anyone else who's interested in a plant-based lifestyle. The Vegan Ambition is a no-pressure zone and a no-hostility zone. We don't pressure our guests here, but are simply here to discuss different viewpoints. I hope you'll join us on this journey, and education is our biggest goal here. And this is Sonja. Sonja's been a vegetarian for around a year.
Year and a half.
Mm-hmm. And can you tell me a little bit about your journey and how the last year and a half has been?
Yeah, I went vegetarian last summer. I lived with someone who was a vegetarian, and she's been a vegetarian for years. And yeah, I don't know. I kind of just ended up making the choice really spontaneously, much to the chagrin of my mother, who is Slavic and really upset about it. But I did it anyways. And yeah, now I'm kind of very slowly doing my transition into more and more plant-based stuff.
And can you tell me about why you decided to do that?
I've pretty much since I was a child been like a huge environmentalist kid. Like I was that kid who went around and put stickers on all our lights in the house being like, turn off the lights, parents.
Nice.
I was like a 9-year-old. So yeah, the more and more I kept reading about the environmental impact, especially of beef and stuff, I just decided it was pretty much against my morals to keep eating meat.
Has it been challenging or different, or has anything, kind of come up since you went vegetarian?
Going home to Bosnia is kind of hard because so much Bosnian Serbian food is all really meat-based. Mm-hmm. So family functions even here is sometimes hard. But in general, it hasn't been like too difficult. There's always kind of options, and more so in the world. There's like more options for me, especially here in Canada. Kind of in Madrid, I had a lot of trouble. I went abroad for a semester in Madrid, and that's where their entire diet seems to consist of like bread, salt, and meat.
Really?
So it was pretty hard to, find a lot of vegetarian options there.
And so, I mean, what did you do when you didn't have the ability to find a vegetarian option?
Well, I was always just cooking at home if I couldn't find stuff there, or honestly, if we were out with, friends getting food, I would end up just resulting in getting like drinks or something, which is not like a huge deal.
Yeah, no, that's good. That seems like a really easy way to do it. A lot of people always have questions about, how do I travel with a vegetarian or a vegan diet, or how do I do these kinds of things? And the answer is you figure it out.
You figure it out, yeah.
And I've talked about this on the podcast a bunch about my trip to Hong Kong and how like I had difficulty adjusting at the beginning, but eventually I found all of the vegan options.
Yeah.
I figured out what was there for me, and it was fine.
Mm-hmm.
And also, I don't know if you've heard of Happy Cow, the app.
No.
Okay, so Happy Cow, I talk about them a lot. I wish they were a sponsor.
Happy Cow, listen up.
For real. But it's an app, and it's like a restaurant app for vegan and vegetarian options. So
wow,
you literally
just
that. You're like whatever city you're in. It's like what is it? TripAdvisor or
but for vegan.
Yelp.
Oh, I love that.
But it's for vegan and vegetarian, and you can pick you can say veg options instead of just pure.
Well, Google Maps pretty much saved my butt when I was in Europe because in Madrid I was always just finding I would Google vegetarian restaurants, and there was a few. There wasn't like a crazy amount, but since I also lived with somebody else who was vegetarian, the two of us were kind of able to go out and find stuff. And then when I went to do like a little excursion in Portugal, that was the best. Portugal had like so many options everywhere,
really?
And I found them all through Google Maps. Yeah,
that seems really odd that Madrid is like so meat based.
I think
Portugal's not.
Spain seemed to have like a bigger hold on their own culture in a way. Like they seemed a lot more
interesting,
proud or like patriotic about it, and so there was less influence of other foods really, I noticed, while Portugal was like a huge mixing pot.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
So that's good. And you went, you went overnight vegetarian, or what did you do kind of? I remember we talked about this a little bit when you went first.
Yeah, for about a year, I was kind of just trying to cut out beef or red meat completely, which worked and didn't work. Worked and didn't work. But I found that it was honestly easier just to stop eating meat in general. Once I gave myself like a really hard and fast rule, I tended to stick to it more.
And how come not vegan?
Not vegan mostly because of my family, living at home and stuff, and again, having Serbian food and stuff. Like, I don't want to completely disengage myself from my family's culture, especially culinary-wise. And I'm still, like, very close with a lot of the Serbian community in Waterloo and stuff, so I just didn't want to, like, be that person who didn't eat anything at the family dinners and stuff, just because it's so integrated, like it's all dairy and all meat, really. So that's the main reason, but I'm also just doing it really slowly and getting more and more so.
And I mean, I was kind of like, I still am that person most of the time at family dinners. But what kind of has been happening more and more is like they'll make like, I don't know, like burekas or something, and they'll make burekas, regular ones, and then also make like a vegan version. It's so nice.
That's what's happened in my family, like my immediate family home. My mom used to always make this lasagna that was like really special, and then as soon as I turned vegetarian, she started making it with like beans or with mushrooms or with eggplants, or like experimenting with a bunch of things. So now we kind of have a cycle in the house where I've like made my immediate family more and more so vegetarian in themselves, just because I didn't eat stuff that they would make for the whole family.
I'm happy to hear that. I've been trying to do that at home, and it's been such a challenge.
I bet.
They just like won't accept it.
It's probably easier for me since I still live with my parents though. That's and it's true. Like every day I'm with them, and my mom is like worried if I'm not eating. Yeah. Right.
But I mean, I do try to encourage my sister and her husband and that kind of side of my family more. And I mean, to the most part, they kind of listen to me, and sometimes, you know, like I think I mentioned A&W earlier when we were talking. And so my brother-in-law, and I think I've probably told my stories repeat. If you listen to all 20 episodes of this, some of my stories will repeat. Just like, you know,
roll with it.
Yeah. But my brother-in-law, we all went to A&W when they first released the Beyond Burger together, and he got it, and he was like telling me, he's like, you know, like I love this burger. Like, aww. I used to love A&W, and he would get it a lot, and he said, but then I started feeling like really crappy after. And so I stopped getting it. And then he had this burger. He's like, you know what? First of all, it tastes really good. It's not exactly like meat. I get it. But it's good. It's all that matters to him. And he's like, and I don't feel crappy after.
Yeah, that's the worst part of all of that stuff I've noticed. Like I had fries even just recently, because since turning vegetarian, I've also just tried to eat a lot healthier, period.
A lot of people do that.
Yeah. And I got fries recently, and it ruined my day.
Yeah.
I got home and I was like, I feel so sluggish.
It is so true. It happens all the time. But he loves it now. He like,
that's amazing.
He like, last time we went to A&W together, me and him, he got the Beyond Burger with me. You know, I guess I've had it like 3 times now.
For not liking it, you've had it a lot.
3 times isn't that much.
I mean, I don't know. It's only been out for how long?
Although the first time I did go, and I had this terrible experience. I went to A&W when it first came out, and I went and got it in this city called Lindsay. You know Lindsay?
I don't.
It's like this little city up north.
Okay.
And so I was like, hey, I need it without mayo because I'm vegan. I'm vegan, right? So I opened it up. There's mayo on it. I'm like, great. So I go back. I give it to them. And I'm like, hey, I asked for no mayo. And then they give me a burger really quickly, which was like super scary, first of all. But then I looked at it. I tried one bit. It was
totally meat.
Totally meat.
Ugh.
Yeah.
A&W.
I took one bite. I looked at it. I like could tell immediately, and I threw it out and spit it out and didn't eat there for like a month and a half.
Yeah, I mean, I probably would do the same thing.
It was unpleasant.
Yeah, I would.
But they've changed it now, I think. Now they always have the Beyond. So like I went there on Sunday, and they have Beyond Burger packaging. So
you know if you're that's smart.
First of all,
I also saw like very specifically on the menu that they have the option, like it says ask for no mayo.
Yeah.
If you're vegan or whatever, right?
Yeah. Asked for no mayo, no cheese, no uncle sauce.
Was that still there? Like, was that there when you had that bad experience, or is that like a newer thing?
I don't know. I got it, like, first of all, I mean, I got it in a really small town, so, like, I'm not, like, you know, and second of all...
Yeah, no tea, no shade at the A&W and Lindsay.
Yeah. It's like a smaller town than here, right? Like, when I live in Stratford right now, and, like, when I went to the Stratford one...
That's small, then.
The lady was, like, you know, was, like, pretty sure... but not 100% sure. Like, I asked her, I'm like, hey, is the bun vegan? And she's like,
right.
I don't know. And she, like, got out the thing and showed me it is. But it gets really confusing because they have a lettuce wrap. So you're like, oh, I guess the bun's not vegan, so I have to get the lettuce wrap, but the bread is vegan there.
I see. Okay, yeah, there's a lot going on.
A lot confusing.
Yeah.
I wish they just, like, released, like, just a pure vegan one. It'd be great for me.
Yeah, it would make more sense to just have that as another menu option. Like, you can get the Beyond Meat or the Beyond Meat vegan option. Like, I don't know why that's
I
interesting.
feel like,
A&W, listen up.
Or just replace the cheese with, like, a vegan cheese and just, like, have that as, like, the base menu. Make it all vegan.
Yeah.
There's lots of places that do that already, like smaller chains that do that already. Or what I love Hero Burger.
I've never been to Hero Burger.
Oh, they have it in Toronto. It's really good. Their veggie burger is really, really good.
Okay.
I recommend it next time. But a Hero Burger, it's similar to Harvey's in the sense that you choose what you want on it.
That's nice.
It doesn't come with anything. So it's really easy.
It's easier to control.
Yeah, you know. And also, they have a mushroom gravy there.
Ooh, I
vegan.
Love mushroom
gravy.
That's awesome.
It's so good.
Delicious.
I absolutely love it. Okay, back to Sonja. Back to you. So I'm really happy to hear that you haven't had any, like, difficulty basically going vegetarian.
Yeah.
That's really exciting because a lot of people are always really scared about it.
Yeah.
And I always suggest people to take their time. I always suggest people to either, like, the two versions I basically tell people is don't go cold turkey like you did, because I find that it's really difficult for people.
Cold tofurkey?
Yeah. That's great. I'm going to start using that one. Love the pun. But I suggest people to, like, do, like, a meatless Monday and start, like, integrating into your diet, or to do my brain just broke, or to basically just...
Wow, just have no memory of your other suggestion.
I think it's just, like, do it slowly or whatever. I don't know.
Like, get, like, occasional...
like cut from, like,
red meat or something?
Yeah, like, cut, like, red meat, go to, like, pescatarian, then cut, like, pescatarian. Because I did that, and that was, like, really easy for me.
So how long were you eating fish?
So I went pescatarian in my first year of university, or, like, the end of my first year of university. And so I had fish for about a year, just, like, plain. But I loved, like, before, I used to love seafood and fish, and it was really, like, I literally remember, like, going pescatarian, and I went pescatarian for my health. I did it to stop going to Burger King, because it was across the street. And
yeah.
But at the time, I was like, I fucking love, like, seafood and shrimp and all this stuff that I will never, ever, ever, ever be able to give up. And then a year later, I like, went to San Francisco. I, like, did all these things. I ate lots of seafood everywhere. And then I came back, and I was like, I'm good.
Seafood's meh, yeah.
Yeah. Like, no, it was good. It's good.
I think seafood is meh.
Then you're good.
Yeah.
But I loved it. And I know a lot of people who love it also.
Yeah.
But it's just, like, at the time, I learned so much about, like, the fish industry and how bad that is for our planet as well. Yeah. And just, like, the fact that I just didn't need to eat it to like, live. Like,
yeah.
You think that you need these things, and so, like, you push yourself to have them, and then somehow I just like realize I just don't need them. Like, it just isn't a thing that I, like, need at all. And I remember I lived at this house with this girl who had a allergy to seafood, which I didn't know before I moved into the house, and so I was really upset when I found out because I couldn't eat seafood anymore. And I was like, but all I eat is seafood, because I was pescatarian at the time. And I was, like, really upset, and I had a difficult time. But then after that year, done.
No need, yeah.
Easy. I was like, all right, good. And I mean, then I went vegetarian for I was vegetarian for 4 or 6 months. So it was very little time, and then I went
vegan.
Yeah.
I don't know. I was just thinking about it where it just is like there's a higher cause for me to not enjoy this chicken nugget.
Especially when you can have vegan chicken nuggets
that are just as good. Yeah, I've discovered
Sonja,
today.
Just before this, I was warming up our food for earlier, and I was telling Sonja that I have these vegan chicken nuggets, and she was incredibly excited.
Yeah.
So I got one for her, and they are
so good. So good. I'm so into it.
Yves vegan, they're vegan chicken nuggets are
they're the best.
Goddamn good.
They're definitely the best chicken nuggets, like vegan chicken nuggets I've ever had.
Yeah, they're absolutely great.
Yeah.
They are perfect. That's the only way to describe them.
Yeah.
And no animals die, and it's not as bad for the environment.
So there you go. So then what the fuck is sorry. So what is the reason why you wouldn't do it?
I think for some people it's hard to change a lot of things.
Yeah.
But my kind of try with this podcast a lot of the time, especially with all their food tastes and all that kind of stuff, is look, you don't I'm not telling you to change everything right now. I'd love for you to do that. But it'd be so great if you just could buy one thing that is vegan.
I mean, honestly, anybody who just cuts out red meat, I'm honestly, you're already doing so great.
Yeah.
It's just it's so upsetting to read about how bad red meat is.
Well, red meat's not just bad for the environment.
It's also not good for you.
It's bad for your health.
Yeah.
And also, I mean, the environmental aspects of red meat is crazy.
It's so wild. Every time I read it, I'm so upset. Really, truly.
Yeah. There's a whole different world when we go into animal activism and wanting these animals to not die. Mm-hmm. But when you just think about
just the
meat
purely
aspect.
Yeah.
I mean, to be fair though, you still eat dairy.
I do still eat dairy, it's true.
And there is a lot of it is still really bad for the environment.
It's definitely still really bad for the environment.
I'm sure you're working on it, and everyone is in a different point of their life, so I'm not going to pressure you to do anything.
No, I've pretty much cut out most dairy. I only ever really have it on I don't know, if I'm at a guest's house or something. Especially cheese pita, for example, is a really big thing in Serbian culture. So I'll still eat that. But if it's not something that somebody's giving to me, I never eat cheese anymore or anything.
I think for a lot of people that are vegetarian, it's really hard to give up cheese.
Cheese is a big one. Cheese is pretty good.
But then I hear about other people like Daniel, who's it's really hard for him to give up eggs or gelatin.
Ugh, I think eggs are gross anyways.
Yeah. I liked eggs when I ate them, but I don't miss them ever.
Yeah.
And tofu scramble, I make that once in a while. Mm-hmm. But I never miss eggs. Yeah. It's just hard sometimes when you go to a breakfast place and
or baking, right? So many.
No, baking's totally not a problem.
Is it? I feel I mean, I'm so down for getting vegan baked goods, and I pretty much do all the time. There's a really great bakery in Toronto that I go to a lot in Kensington.
Bunners,
yeah, and I really like it. But that's kind of the one thing that I'm I do understand that to me this still does not taste as good as non-vegan baked goods.
So I will argue with that.
Uh-huh.
One, it's hard to eat out. Fair enough, with baked goods. But there's a place called Beechwood Donuts in St. Catharines.
Uh-huh.
They make donuts.
But I mean St. Catharines. When am I ever going to go to St. Catharines?
Right now, that's how it is. Hopefully it's not like that in the future. Yeah. But their donuts are perfect. They're exactly the same.
Okay, but that's only donuts. I don't know. I'm just saying, I'm not even against it.
But
just saying,
at home, good. If you're going to make baked goods at home, veganizing a recipe is incredibly easy.
I know, but I've done it, and I still just...
Really?
Yeah, that's my one. And I mean, I still eat it. I would still choose it because, once again, the higher cause is better to me.
That's so odd to me.
But I just don't like it as much.
All of the baked goods I've ever made have been great.
Yeah, I don't know. It's my one. It's my one thing.
Farmhouse Garden Animal Home's mission is to provide a safe home for the animals in their care. They want to show others that farm animals deserve love and compassion. Each of their animals is a unique individual, and by learning and interacting with them, Farmhouse hopes to teach others to love them as well. Farmhouse Garden Animal Home subsides entirely on donations. They're a non-profit with 30-ish cows, 2 horses, a duck, and others. Please consider donating to them or visiting them in their beautiful farm in Uxbridge. You can find them on the web, on Facebook, Instagram or by visiting farmhousegardenanimalhome.com. Thanks, Farmhouse, for sponsoring. I don't know if you noticed there, but like I took like a second to say some of these things.
Mm-hmm.
Last week, if you're listening to this on December the 20th-ish, we're recording this in November. Last week, Farmhouse lost 2 of their animals. And they lost a cow and they lost a horse. And Farmhouse is really dear to me, and it is really dear to me, but these 2 animals were all really, really dear to me. So the horse, her name was Coletta. She was 29 years old.
Whoa.
Yeah. And she had a really severe like foot issue. I forget the exact name of it. And so for the last couple of years that I was visiting, she's had this very swollen foot, and it's been very difficult for her. And I remember like going and visiting, and like Coletta and all the other horses, they would always like try to reach over the fence and try to grab your veggies from your basket of veggies, and it was always so cute. And you're just like, I'm just trying to pet you and give you as much love and food as possible. But the other animal that passed away, her name was Baby.
That's a fantastic name.
It is. And if you listen to this podcast before, I talk about Baby a lot. That's because Baby was one of the animals that I first ever connected with. So I visited Farmhouse just around when they opened, and I got to meet Baby and the other cows basically by myself. It was me, Edith, who owns the sanctuary, and the farmer, Mike. And I was taking photos of them that day, or videos of that day. And I remember Baby came up to me, and she looked at my camera, and she was really clearly posing for me.
Aww.
And then Mike grabbed a apple from the tree, and she came up to him, and she's like, "Where is my apple?" So he had to get her an apple, of course. And every single time that I visited Farmhouse, I've probably been there like upwards of 10 times since. Every time I've visited, I always make sure to like stop by Baby and like give Baby some food and like
how old was Baby?
I think she was like 4 or 5. She was really young. Like I think when she moved to Farmhouse, she was a dairy cow. She was the only dairy cow that they had. And she was raised very differently than the rest of the animals. She was raised like a pet. Like she was literally like a pet, like a dog. Like you barely tell the difference, other than the size, obviously.
Coloring.
They're like the same. And so every time that you interacted with her, she interacted with you like a pet.
That's so sweet. And
so Edith texted me on Sunday and said that they found her in the barn, unconscious. They don't know what happened to her, but she passed away. And it's been really upsetting, really sad for me, because I really, really like connected with her and loved her. And I don't know, I think I connected with her well because she was raised slightly differently. Like, and that doesn't mean I don't love all the other animals, but I just had like a really personal connection with her. And she was the first farm animal I had ever connected with in my life, and I was 20 at the time or whatever. And so it's been really sad the last couple days realizing that she's not there, and next time I visit I'm not going to see her.
Oh, I'm sorry, pal.
Nah, I mean, it's okay.
It's sad. But
I just want to say to like all of the listeners out there, like these connections that we make with animals are they're genuine. I was really upset after it happened. I wore a t-shirt with Baby's face on it that I created a couple months ago. All day after. I donated a bunch of money to Farmhouse because they always need help and support in honor of both Baby and Coletta. So, I mean, I think there are people, maybe not listeners to this podcast, but there are lots of people who are cynical out there who think that the connections that I talk about or the feelings that I have aren't real, or that you can't connect with an animal like this. But that's not true. I did. so have all of the other volunteers at Farmhouse. So have so many people. Everybody loved Baby. Like you have no idea. She was like probably one of the most loved cows. Not to say that they're all not loved, but she just like I don't know, she had something
Baby.
about her.
Mm-hmm.
And so she was like one of the most loved cows. One of the most loved earthlings. And just an amazing being. And so if you are listening to this podcast and you can't empathize with me, or you don't quite get it, or you haven't been to a sanctuary, go to a sanctuary. I don't care if you go to Farmhouse. I don't care where you go. Go to any sanctuary. Hang out with these farm animals, with these animals, and realize that, these animals, like they don't deserve to die. And Baby died, and I was sad about Baby because I had a personal connection with Baby. But there are literally millions of animals dying every single day.
Mm-hmm.
And these animals are going to feed humans. They're going to make dairy for humans, and it's just that connection doesn't happen because we're so disassociated from these animals. But that to me feels really not genuine and not great of a life to live, because you're choosing a certain animal to say, okay, dogs are great and cats are great, but then you're saying cows, because they're a bit bigger and they produce milk and they produce this meat that we have decided tastes good, that they deserve to die. And I think that is a mistake that people make. So I'm going to end my spiel there, and I'm going to say is, if you haven't visited a sanctuary, please do. It may change your life. It changed mine. And if you know sanctuaries, or you haven't been to Farmhouse, head out to Farmhouse. It's going to be a little bit more solemn the next month, but there's lots of loving animals there that always need help and support, and they still cost a lot of money to feed. They're about $100 a day, which is like crazy. So much cash.
Yeah.
And yeah, I'd like to get onto today's question.
Sure.
Which is, are vegetables grown with animal manure vegan? What do you think?
Man, I don't even know. I don't, because I guess I don't know exactly what my own distinctions are for that. I don't know. I've also never heard anybody talk about it, so I don't even know what all my arguments could be.
Well, what are your perspectives? What do you like? These questions are not for the expert.
Yeah.
Right. These questions are for the average person to think about, and to take home and to see these two perspectives. I'll give one, you'll give one. I don't care which one you take. You can take the yes, and I'll give the opposite. Whatever. It doesn't matter.
Sure.
And just be like, from my perspective, where I'm at right now, this is what I think.
I mean, I guess if you take a logical mind to it, it uses, animals, so I guess it's not. I mean, logically, I guess if you, sum up parts to it, that's, what I would come to. But I don't know, in my heart of hearts, I don't think I would consider it not vegan.
You would...
You know what I mean? I would... When I look at it logically, if you look at, just the definitions of things, which life obviously isn't, right? Life is nuanced. If you look at just the definitions of it, I don't know. I guess it comes down to the question of, is, excrement a byproduct? An animal byproduct?
Yeah, well, yeah. Why wouldn't it be?
Oh, I don't know. I don't know exactly what the definition is.
Well, I mean, the way that I view it is that in the state that we're at, with the animal industry the way it is, it's not vegan, because most of this animal manure is coming from beef and dairy production.
Okay, sure.
So we're taking this, we're producing all this stuff, we're taking it, we're moving it to another place and using it to grow vegetables. But at the same time, I have like zero control over that.
That's also very true.
So like I can't go to the grocery store and like ask the
what?
grocer,
Yeah.
you know, is this
what mud did this come from?
I have trouble even now like figuring out whether like sugar is vegan, which is easier to do.
Yeah.
But it's still impossible almost. And so like that's kind of like a problem that comes up. But in the same respect, I feel like if it was from a sanctuary, it might be like better.
Yeah.
But then you get into this argument, and this is like, it's such a whirlwind. Like, there's so many levels to this.
Yeah.
But then you get into the argument, you know, like bees, right? Like, I don't eat honey.
Uh-huh.
Because honey production is
a byproduct.
Bad.
Yeah.
It's a byproduct. It's bad for like a lot of different reasons, but it's a byproduct of bees.
Mm-hmm.
And generally, what we do is we like steal their honey and give them sugar water. So.
How do you feel about like small production beekeepers? Because my uncle is a beekeeper in Bosnia.
Really?
Mm-hmm. And he has like I don't know, it's actually like freaky to watch. He has like a very loving connection with bees. Or even my grandpa, before he died, he was a beekeeper. Kind of. Like my grandparents in Bosnia live on a little farm. So like they have a little cow and yada yada. But there's like, you know, not very many animals.
I think it's small production isn't terrible.
Mm-hmm.
I think I would still not eat it because I don't really like the idea of just taking something from an animal.
Well,
from a being.
It's
when
a
you
trick
don't
question anyways, because all the bees are dead, so you can't eat them anyways.
What do you mean?
Eat the honey. All my uncle's bees died.
Oh, really?
Yeah, since the bees are dying everywhere.
Oh.
Yeah, it's really sad. But it's nice to hear your take on it.
Yeah, so, but then it gets transferred, you know, like into the animal thing. It's like, well, all these animals are producing all of this manure, and it's not being used for anything. Is it okay to use their manure without their consent, without their, like, you know, ability to agree to it, for producing other things? It's a complex question. There doesn't have to be an answer that comes out of this. It's just posing
to me, it just seems like too picky of a question in a way. Like, already, all my arguments for vegetarianism and veganism already come from a place of privilege, right? Like, I am financially able to do this and yada, yada, yada. There's a lot of people who are a lot less privileged than me who don't have that option, right? So that already, like, lowers the amount of people that this kind of is applicable to me. By a really large amount. So then to continue narrowing that down to, you know, manure, I don't know. To me, excrement doesn't really seem, if it's not being used for anything else and it's excrement, to me, I don't know, those vegetables are vegan. That's how I would probably, now that I've thought about it and I've come around to it, I think that is my hot take.
Okay. I mean, that's your take. I don't, like, I don't know. Similarly to the reaction you had, you know, like, I pose these questions for myself and I don't have an answer sometimes, which is okay, I think.
It's always good. I think that's a great thing.
But it's hard to say in my perspective, because if I don't eat honey, I mean, in theory, then I should be able to eat honey, because there are farms that use the excess honey. But then you kind of get into this realm. And I get your picky perspective. That's an interesting one I haven't thought of, actually. But then you kind of get into this realm of maybe it's not being used for anything at a sanctuary, right? Like, let's say it's a sanctuary.
Yeah, sure.
And we're trying to keep those animals around just for their happiness. And then we're not using this excrement, so we're going to use it to grow our veggies. Cool. That's, like, half okay to me. It's definitely not okay when it comes to the perspective of, like, large scale.
Yeah, I would
Which
agree.
is what most of it is.
Yeah, I agree with that.
But it's hard to say.
But that's just because it's general animal mistreatment, though.
Yeah.
Which I'm just against those, period. Like, I wouldn't even really consider I don't even want to consider the question of using their excrement, right? Because to me, the whole thing is bad, period.
Right.
Yeah.
Interesting. I don't know.
It's a tricky one. I mean, in general, I like these questions, though, because like, the biggest thing to me is just that people are thinking critically about the things they eat. Like, even if somebody is... Like, I also think there's a spectrum to your... I don't want to say, like, a spectrum to your morals. That's not exactly what I mean. But, like...
I know what you mean.
Yeah.
There's certain... And I've had this conversation with people on here. And, like, the main point is, like, where do you stop?
Yeah.
So it's kind of like, I'm vegan, right? I don't eat honey. I try not to kill animals. I try not to kill bugs. But sometimes, like, there are things you need to do for you to be able to, like, live in a way, right? Like, you don't want cockroaches in your house.
Yeah, mosquitoes.
Yeah, mosquitoes are pretty bad, generally speaking.
But that's why we love spiders.
I love spiders. I don't kill spiders.
Me neither.
Nice. But then the question becomes, like, why not? Why don't you allow these animals if you're deciding that all animals deserve to live?
Mm-hmm.
It's a hard question to answer and to think about in general, because I don't know, right? Like, I don't know what makes that life more important than that life, and it doesn't. There isn't really, right? Like, that's the speciesism concept. Like, all lives live on the same level. But the point of view that I take, and what a lot of my friends that are vegan take, which I think is the most valid way to do it, is you do what you can.
I agree.
So I'm vegan. I still drive a car. I hope that next year I can, if I live downtown, I can get rid of my car.
Mm-hmm.
You know, but right now it's very difficult for me to do that. Like, I just have a lot of things that I need to drive around in, and so forth. And the same thing applies to my veganism. Like, I'm vegan to the point that I can be, and I hope to get better in terms of, like, how much waste I produce, in terms of how much water I use, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. But right now, like, I'm doing what I can.
I completely agree.
And some people don't do, like, I mean, it's not necessarily right to say that some people don't do anything, so that's bad. But...
Well, you also have to look into all the factors as to why somebody's not doing things, right?
Right.
Yeah.
And at the same level, I mean, everyone's in a different place in their lives.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't want to pressure you, for example, to make you go vegan.
Mm-hmm.
I encourage you to, but I'm not going to, like, pressure you because you're at that point in your life.
Well,
I hope I can educate
in, like,
you.
Villainizing people for stuff, right?
Yeah, which is a big thing that happens in the vegan community.
Yeah, of course.
Which is what I'm trying to fix with this podcast
Mm-hmm.
to some level, because I don't think villainizing or non-vegans is a valid argument. I think that the most valid thing you can do is try to educate people.
Yeah.
Which is why education is our biggest goal here.
I agree.
And, you know, so
to
go on to the next sponsor call.
Sure.
Sonja, you like apricots, right?
Apricots?
Yeah.
Love apricots.
That's why I put them in. Did you know that apricots have 64% of your daily vitamin A intake, 16% of your daily vitamin C intake, 5.5% of your daily potassium, 5% of your daily iron, 3% of your daily manganese, and that they're a great source of dietary fiber, antioxidants, vitamins, and minerals. So grab some fresh or some dried apricots at your local grocery and dig in.
Yes.
Thank you, apricots, for sponsoring today's podcast. I have a vegan food that we're going to try today. Yes. Are you excited?
I'm so excited.
They've been sitting around for 38 minutes. They are beefless tips. They're Gardein beefless tips. They just came back to Canada. It's really, 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 really exciting.
What do you mean they just came back to Canada?
So Gardein built a new factory somewhere in the States, and they had to, basically what they did was they limited Canadian production to 4 products for the last year and a half.
I see.
And it was mandarin chicken, fish fillets, beefless ground. I can't remember what the last one was.
Okay.
And so now they're finally reintroducing all of their 30 items. They have so many items.
Brilliant. I'm so excited. These really, really smell and look like beef.
Yeah, I'm half excited just because I don't know how much I love the taste of beef.
Yeah, we were discussing this before the podcast as well. Both of us aren't crazy beef fans anyways.
But just some some numbers here. These beefless tips, in a serving of 100 grams, they have 15% of your daily iron and 19 grams of protein.
Whoa.
In 100 grams.
Jeez.
That's pretty good.
That's really good.
I feel like they have even more stuff in them. Like, there's more like B12 and stuff. They're not showing up on the website, so I can't tell you exactly what else is in there. And they're made of mostly water, soy, and vital wheat gluten, and some oil and onions, basically. It's pretty simple. Maybe I'm looking at the wrong ones. I wonder.
That sounds pretty accurate from what we were reading on the box earlier.
Yeah. Anyway, you ready to try one?
I'm ready to try one.
Okay. Do you mind passing me?
Yeah, of course.
One. I will try to do this.
Hold on. Oop.
Yeah.
I'm just gonna walk.
Yeah, you might be better. That would be great. Thank you. Oh, they smell like beef, but they also smell a bit like the burger, the patties, the vegan patties that I've had before.
Yeah, from this brand?
Yeah, from Gardein.
Because this smells a lot like a very traditional Serbian food called ciabatta, that are just like essentially beef.
Show them to your parents if you want.
Yeah, maybe I'm gonna go for it.
Okay, you go for it first. The texture is not beef, but
it tastes more like breadish, like soggy bread almost. Not in a bad way. Not in a bad way.
No, it's not bad. I don't love the flavor because I just don't like beef, and it's like a little beefy for me.
I actually disagree.
You like it?
Yeah, I don't mind it, and I don't think it tastes that beefy.
I don't know.
It kind of doesn't taste like anything that much, to be honest.
Really?
Yeah, I'm not tasting a lot.
I tasted on the outside.
Yeah, the outside part is. Can I go for another one?
Yeah, we're done. I'm only gonna have one. So
I'm kind of into it.
Great, you can finish those up.
I literally will.
They're pretty good, but they're like, I don't know. I would say they're good. They're not supposed to be eaten by themselves, right? They're supposed to be like in a dish.
Yeah, I don't mind them.
They're not bad. Their texture is different than the rest of Gardein stuff, I would say.
It's very soft.
It's very soft. They might also be soft because they've been sitting around for a bit.
I mean, I don't think I would ever eat them again just because I don't really eat soy stuff.
Yeah.
But I don't hate it.
Well, that's good. I mean, I'm glad you don't hate it. It's a solid. I've had some things on the podcast where we've been like, we both hate them.
Like what?
We had these. Do you like tempeh? Do you know what tempeh
I'm okay
is?
on tempeh. Again,
I don't like
still
tempeh.
just like soy stuff.
Yeah, I don't like tempeh at all.
Mm-hmm.
And there was these like tempeh bacon.
Okay.
But it wasn't good.
Hmm.
And I think I super just did not recommend them to my listeners. Most of the stuff I've had on has been good. The deli slices all of the vegan deli slices are like super, super yummy and really interesting. And
okay.
Good. There's lots of great stuff.
Honestly, these just don't have that much taste to me. I'm pretty used to really flavorful though. Like I really like really flavorful stuff.
Yeah.
With a lot of spice.
That's fair. I did smell your dish earlier yesterday, and I was like, "This is way too spicy for me. I'm not even gonna try it."
There. Yeah, that was like not even at all a little spicy. I was so upset I didn't have my sriracha.
I mean, again, I think these would be better if they were hot. I think, and this happens every podcast where I say the exact same thing. I think these would taste better if they were warm.
I'm literally on my fourth though. Like I'm eating them.
That's true. You do like them a lot.
I don't like them a lot, but
I mean, they're good enough to eat 4 times.
Yeah, I'm into it. I'm eating it.
Are you sure you don't like them a lot?
I definitely don't like them a lot.
Okay.
I can promise I don't like them a lot. I like them a little.
Okay. Well, now you know, listeners, that Gardein beefless tips are perfect for I like them a little, not a lot.
But not a lot.
No, I mean, they're good overall. They're just, I don't know. I guess they're not for me. They're not.
I would call them not bad. Like capital N, capital B, not bad.
Gardein, if you'd like to sponsor our podcast, we'll gladly.
We think your food is not bad.
Call them not bad. No, to be fair, I love almost everything else Gardein makes.
Okay.
They make some really great stuff.
Your disgustingly named beefless tips are not bad.
Yeah.
I don't know why they called them that.
Home style.
I don't like the word beefless tips. That's
Why?
weird.
I want to know why now.
I don't know. Beefless tips sounds weird. What is it the tip of?
I think it's just supposed to be like chunks, I guess, right?
Okay, well, I don't know. Call them beefless chunks. Beefless tips is
But would
so...
you want to eat a product called beefless chunks?
I don't know.
Yeah, I think that's worse, to be honest.
I think the word beef and even beefless is somehow gross to me. But I am about to eat the last one, so...
There you go.
Oh, well.
To be fair, I also really like every single... They also have a Szechuan. Beefless strips. Beefless strips.
Okay.
To be fair, I really like everything that's chicken when it's fake. Because I used to love chicken.
Fair.
And I never really liked beef when I was a kid.
You know what? I honestly realized when I went vegetarian that I don't think I ever really cared that much about the taste of meat ever, and always just really enjoyed the sauce of things.
Yeah.
I like how meat would be seasoned or something, and then as soon as I started doing once again, I very rarely do soy stuff, but I'll do eggplant or cauliflower or something instead, and then just season it or use stuff that I would normally put on meat, and then I always just end up really liking that. And I realize that the meat is never the thing I liked in the first place.
That's what when people tell me they don't like tofu, right?
Tofu just tastes like whatever you put on there.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I'm listen, just season it the same way you would season anything else. Maybe a little bit extra because it needs a little more. But overall, it's
I mean, especially chicken.
Yeah.
Chicken doesn't really taste like anything.
No, I know. And I just
And cauliflower, frankly, tastes better. And cauliflower barely tastes like anything.
And it's better for you. Much better for you.
It is.
Yeah.
And I love cauliflower.
I've learned to love so many new vegetables.
Me too. Me too. I've become so much more of an adventurous eater since I stopped eating meat.
That's awesome.
Went to this amazing Lebanese restaurant in Toronto. Little Cedo, actually, I think is what it's called. It's on Bloor. Bloor and Bathurst. And they have this amazing salad that was arugula, and I think it just had mostly a balsamic kind of vinaigrette, and then a ton of beets and a bunch of halloumi, which I know isn't vegan, but and walnuts on it or something, and I had the best time. I was I never would have ordered this if I didn't eat meat, because I would have chosen something with meat, and instead I got this bomb salad.
Well, I was watching BuzzFeed. You know BuzzFeed? They do that show where they try 3 different foods at 3 different
prices. Yeah.
I watched. They had released an episode in the summer, and I think I talked about it briefly on the podcast. But they released an episode where they did a vegan edition.
Cool.
Which is awesome, first of all.
Mm-hmm.
But I think one of the best things they ever said on that show, in my opinion, at the very end, they went to this restaurant in New York, and they tried a bunch of different dishes that were just vegetables. The very end, the very last dish was just a roasted cauliflower. Huge roasted cauliflower.
Mm-hmm.
And the guy goes, I have never, ever thought of a vegetable being the main part of a dish before. And now I understand.
Yeah, exactly.
And that's what I think about now. Every time I eat a dish that's just a vegetable, or just
this is enough.
This is it.
Works.
I've changed, and it's such a better experience. And I've literally tried so many new things. In the summer, I was going to this place all the time called, what's it called? Kim and Comfort. Comfort. I can't remember.
Is it in Toronto?
Yeah. They have a bunch of different locations. They do these bowls.
Oh, nice.
And they're very, very, very good, and they're all really varied. That's the thing I loved about them the most.
That's nice. Yeah.
Was I would go to I tried Freshie a couple times in the summer, and I would go there, and it was rice, tofu, cucumber, edamame, carrot, and something else. And I was this is just this is fine, but it's plain.
But you could just make that yourself at home.
Right.
So easy. But
then I'd go to this place, and it was sunflower seed balls and quinoa and kale, and
we love an experimental restaurant.
Not coleslaw. They did sauerkraut and rainbow radishes.
Yeah,
and
I'm so down for all of this.
All of these different kinds of vegetables, all in one dish. I've never tried some of them before, and it was fantastic.
I love that.
That was my favorite place to go because it was also right beside my work, so I was easy.
Mm-hmm.
But that's what veganism has done for a lot of people. For me, for you, it sounds like for vegetarianism, it's just like taught you so many new things that you can eat.
Well, I cook so much more now. Like I barely ever cooked before, especially because cooking meat kind of sucks. Like it's it's so gross. First of all, hot tea, but it's the worst. It's kind of expensive, and it's so much more fun to cook with vegetables.
It's honestly, oh man, so I watched another BuzzFeed video. I don't know why I watch so many of them, but it's this lady who does these videos about her like mom. Like she's a mom and she does them. She's like from a mom perspective. I don't know, whatever. Sure. They're fine. I like the videos.
I love that you're watching mom videos. On
they're
YouTube.
cute family. I don't know. I sent them to my sister who's a mom and she hated it. Enough. So I don't know. Anyway, she did a vegan week because that's what they wanted her to do.
Okay.
And she comes into the video and she's like, I went grocery shopping and it was $50 more than usual. And I was like, and I listened to that and I was like, you bought it's because you bought all brand new stuff, first of all.
Yeah.
And because you bought like fancy things, like probably like a $6 organic soy milk.
Yeah, you don't need to do that.
You know, all these things. And it's like, look, like veganism is not that expensive.
Yeah, that's like a weird myth that I don't really fully understand where it comes from.
I don't either.
Meat is so expensive when instead you could buy a cauliflower for way less.
Especially, so there's two things you can do. One is buy food in season.
Yeah.
That helps a ton. Two.
Yeah, cauliflower out of season is so expensive.
Eat like tofu or soy rather, but tofu's cheap as dirt. Like it's so cheap, and you get like so much more for the price that you pay. Like let's say you pay, I think I remember buying chicken breasts when I was like younger, and it was like $12 for like two.
Yeah.
Two chicken breasts.
I know.
I can buy triple or no, I could probably buy 6 times the amount of tofu for 12.
Well, and
$12.
then also factor in the fact that most people, at least in North America, like eat way more meat than they even need to, right?
And protein. Like most people get enough protein.
Exactly, that's what I mean. So think about like how much money that is.
Right, and it's like a concern people have all the time. It's like, I'm not getting enough protein. And I'm like, you are.
you're yeah.
As long as you most likely, as long as you eat 2,000 calories a day and you are not eating like chips.
Yeah.
You're getting enough protein because there's protein in very literally everything.
Mm-hmm.
So it's very interesting to me that there are people who, don't like this and don't like that, and I'm just like, but it's cheaper.
I just think that's people who, I'm just really frustrated with people who don't even want to look into it. Like, I don't even mind if somebody has looked into it and then are talking to me about their certain views or arguments. Like, I don't know, that at least shows me that somebody's caring enough to like do their own research about it. It's when people just refuse to even like think about it. Like, that just is such a lack of empathy to me.
Yeah. Well, we have one friend, Graydon, right, who's been on the podcast. I have another friend who's similar to Graydon, where they like love working out, and so to them, meat is really important because they need to get enough protein or enough calories.
Okay.
But I've had people on this program who are bodybuilders.
Yeah, I was gonna say.
Super lean, super cut, super like everything you want. They're vegan.
Yeah. And
they are like, they look amazing, and they don't even try that much harder. Like, you have to try like a tiny bit harder. Like, I get like it's hard sometimes because you're like, I'm in school, and I'm like, yeah, I'm also in school. I run a business. I do this.
Mm-hmm.
I'm still vegan.
Mm-hmm.
It's fine. I can do it. It's just a learning curve that people don't want to take, which is what I'm trying to educate people on.
And I also mean, like, you can just try.
Yeah.
Like, there's no harm in just trying. And then you can make like an educated decision or take on whether or not it does or doesn't work, right? But some people are like, it won't work for me because I need this, where it's like, but you haven't even tried.
Yeah. And they don't do the research. Like, this mom, like, I love her channel, don't get me wrong, whatever, but like, she probably didn't do that much research into what they were going to eat. She probably didn't meal plan. She probably just went to the grocery store and she was like, I bought the same stuff, but I bought $50 more. And I'm like, yeah, but you probably, like, I can't imagine.
That's just not fair to the whole...
Like, and they're like, oh, I was having difficulties with making like croissants and stuff, and I'm like, just don't make croissants.
Yeah.
Like, you can get vegan ice cream. Your kids will love that just as much as the croissants.
Coconut ice cream is so good.
Oh, vegan ice cream is like top. Like, so take your time with veganism. If you want to go vegan, take your time. It's just a learning curve. That's all it is.
I agree. Big ups from me.
So I have a sponsor call here for Plasma, but since we have the editor here,
that's me,
of Plasma, do you want to just talk about it for like a little bit?
Yeah, sure. I'm actually the co-editor. I have to give due credit to Miss Emma Cohen.
That's right.
Yeah, the two of us run a magazine. It's an art and literature magazine called Plasma Dolphin. We release content online and in print. Our second issue just came out. It's called Bad Faith.
It's great. I have it in my bag, and I
thank you. Yeah,
I still need to
look
through it, but I'm gonna do it today.
Yeah. Yeah, you can get your own if you want at plasmadolphin.com, but otherwise you can check out other stuff. We just started a podcast too, kind of.
I know.
I
told you I would listen to it, and I totally forgot.
No worries. It's gonna be pretty. Like, it's not gonna be that often. Mm-hmm. It's just gonna be like every once in a while when we feel like that's like the best way to connect with readers.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool.
That's Plasma.
So, before we finish up, is there anything that you want to tell my listeners?
I think you covered it. I think, like, at the end of the day, you should just try. Like, there's truly no harm in deciding to make tacos with cauliflower. And, like, I made really good ones recently with homemade chipotles and adobo sauce. So, yeah. I mean, just try. Yeah.
Great. Well, I'd like to thank today's sponsors, which were Farmhouse Garden Animal Home, Apricots, and Plasma Dolphin, the magazine, Sonja, and you, the listeners, for being here with us today. You can find Sonja on Instagram at Sonja Katanic, which is SonjaTitanic.
Like the boat.
Yeah. Or at Plasma Dolphin, which is Plasma Dolphin, Dolphin. Not dauphin, which is a French word.
Yeah, not that.
Dolphin.
The English version.
That's right. If you have any questions, a suggestion, you want to be a sponsor, or you want to be on an episode, feel free to send us an email at veganambitionpodcast@gmail.com, or check us out on our website at veganambition.com. Thank you, everybody, and have a great, great, great day.